So आज के वीडियो में like we basically do some revision for the next years you know so basically सीन ऐसा हुआ था कि मैंने like ऐसे 10-15 क्वेश्चंस का like क्वेश्चन बैंक क्रिएट किया था and like for just like a preparation for like interviews and all. So yeah, so what is Next.js and what are its main benefits? So the main so Next.js is basically a React framework which is basically used to create like a proper front end system, front end ready like, which is basically used to create like front end applications. It basically comes with like a lot of features, a lot of inbuilt features with the help of which we can like create projects very fast, like very swiftly and like with very ease when compared to like traditional React. It also provides us server-side rendering, which is one of its like key like a key feature. And also like things like ISR, SSG, static site generation. So it provides like a lot of. It also has like a file-based routing. You can say it's like an app router. Okay. So it comes with like a file-based routing, which makes like routing of our routing in our application very easily. And compared to like traditional React, where you have to like install like React router and then basically configure all the router and routes and all. Okay, so instead of that, you can basically just use this, and this works like very way better than the traditional one. Also, it comes with like a lot of features. Also, it comes with like a lot of features like API and it comes with like a lot of features for like API calling and all. So it is very secure. Personally, like my favorite point of like Next.js. My favorite point of Next.js is that in Next.js, uh, you have like server side component. So when server side components, what I usually happens is that uh, when you make like network calls, okay, the network calls are being made on the server. Okay, they are not made from the client side. Okay, so it is made it is made from server. Okay, data comes and like it basically like creates the it basically loads and like paints the page and then sends it to the clients. So the so what API we are actually getting on the server side, it stays there only. Okay. So like if I'm on client side, I will know what API like he has like basically used in order to access that page. Also it has like built-in API routes. And because of this server-side rendering and all, it basically it provides tremendous help, like provides tremendous help, in like in terms of like SEO, like search engine optimization. Because the thing is, like in SEO, the thing is, if you know, so in React, so traditional React, what happens to in traditional React, what happens is like it's like mostly like client side, like basically like client side template. Okay, so basically like your index.html, the index.html file, right? It's kind of empty. It's kind of empty. Okay, in that file, like JavaScript is used. Like what React does is behind the scenes, it basically like execute JavaScript and starts like adding component and like filling that HTML page. Okay, so because of that, what happens is like SEO. Because of that, what happens is like in SEO optimizations, things like crawlers, like Google has crawlers, right? Google crawler. There are a lot of crawlers, right? Google has its Google has its own crawler. Bing has its own crawler. Similarly, there are like a lot of search engines who have like a lot of crawlers and all. Okay, so these crawlers when they like visit your website and they find that the website is loading so slow, right? Because it is basically downloading the JavaScript. Then like it is painting the like the page it becomes very like slow and sometimes because of that the search engine of like SEO like it struggles. Okay, SEO, it takes a major hit, in terms of like performance, like ranking. Okay, so in SSR, like if it is server side render, okay, the page it gets way faster than compared to like a client side, like a normal client side rendering. So because of that, the thing is, the SEO improves a lot, and also you can add like multiple tags, right? And also you can like add a lot of tags and all, which becomes very difficult in traditional React. You have to use tools like Helmet, Async Helmet. So Async Help. So there is a library called as Async Helmet, like Helmet and all. So you have to use that, and you have to remove all the meta tags and all inside different pages. Okay, so it becomes kind of like complicated, right? So in order to so this problem is solved by Next.js, okay, because of its server-side callback capabilities. So app router is basically like server-side deployment. So the main difference is Next.js also has like app router, which is like kind of like file-based routing. Okay, like for example, PC, like we have folders, right? So like my PC, cycle one or something like that. Similarly, the in Next.js also you create folders inside your app directory. Like for example, if I want to create a page for about us, I will just create a folder name about. Okay, and inside that I will add like the inside that I will add a page.tsx file. Okay, and then I will add like a CSS or like and then and in there only we can like add all other files which are like similar. I mean it depends on like your project structure, right? Depends on your project structure, like how you are doing. Okay, some people do it like module wise, some people do it like like page wise only. So it depends. Okay, and uh, pages router, and also in app router, like all the pages by default are like user. Okay, they are not client side, they are user. How do you create API routes? So I'm creating API routes is actually very easy. Okay, inside app folder, you easily create a folder name as API, and then inside that, whatever path you want to like define. For example, if you want like products, so you will create a folder called as products, and inside that product folder, you will create a file called as route.ts. Now inside this route.ts, what will happen is you will basically create functions based on the name of the methods. Like for example, you have get products route API, right? And you want to like create you want to basically fetch data, like you want to get you want to like call the get method on that API. Okay, so you will name it get. Okay, you should not like name it something anything like fancy or anything, just name it like that. You can name it get, and if you give it the name like get, then it will automatically like basically, and then you can like define the function inside that. Okay, and so basically ISR is basically a feature where the static site, basically incremental site, uh, rendering is basically you basically keep reevaluating our website page after after every specified time, after every specified time with the validation times is valuable. You basically create like .env file. Okay, .env dot local .env dot production. Okay, like that way you can create it. If you keep things like next public, if you define next public, okay, then that will be exposed to the like, and you can access them using process.env dot variable name. So if you want to, make it accessible for the public or the client side as well, then you basically create like public server name and next publics. Okay, and that way you can basically make it available. Next.config.js is a very important file which dictates how over nextjs will behave. Okay, like it basically gives a lot of features to customize it. Okay, like image optimization, redirects, headers, extend webpack configuration. The image, the Next.js has a very special feature called as image component. Okay, it has automatically executing. Okay, responsive image selling. So what actually? So you are asking what are the images? So image tag is actually a very powerful feature in Next.js. Okay, I personally love it very much. Okay, the reason why I love it so much is because it has like a lot of features. It comes with like a lot of inbuilt features like lazy loading, like optimizations. Okay, it works well with web images. And it is like very, I mean, it automatically like handles all the like high properties. We have to mention this and we have to specify like what width and what height we want. And it does it very well. Okay, and it is very gives like very optimized image. Okay, which makes it very easy for SEO as well. Middleware is basically a request process. Middleware is basically very useful. Middleware is actually very useful when it comes to handle like the authentication flow and okay, like if user, I mean, if you want to check whether a user is, I mean, if a user is, I mean, if the user has a right to access that page, okay, and if he is requesting it, like, it's basically very useful. sample ISR. Okay, we will request a sample code of ISR and see how the code looks. Uh, then we will also see, like how next config, config example, and how is it, basically, then what we will see is example of middleware code as well. Forms, metrics, LCPs, then we will say performance metrics like LCP, CLS. Okay, so how to implement such authentication in Next.js? There are various ways to handle like authentication in Next.js application. We can use a library called like Next.auth. Okay, like basically Next.auth, Auth0, the okay, those are like pre-built. Or if you want to like create it by our own, like create it from scratch for our own self, for our own use, then so we can also use basically we can also create like a proper like session management system. And not only that, but we, like basically in your middleware file, basically in our middleware, we basically, like check all the tokens, basically, like check all the tokens for, like protected routes and all. So if the token is there, only then that protected route can be accessible. Otherwise, it won't be, like accessible. And we basically created it that way. And like the cookies are next to like HTTP only format, like HTTP only cookie format. So that way the cookies is easier. Explain the file-based routing system. File-based routing is basically a very, it's very, very useful. It's very, not only useful, but it is like a very intuitive feature. It just like it works just like like our traditional file system works like operating system. Basically, so the thing is, basically the thing is usually in traditional React, what used to happen is basically we used to create like a folder for pages, then we used to create a separate folder for components. Okay, and inside that components also we would create like different okay like different category like 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 category wise, pages wise, like we would like define folders, and inside that we would put all the like respective components. But in this scenario, what actually happens is that we basically create file based routing. Okay, so basically like if I have like an about us page, okay, then I just have to go in about. I mean, I just have to go in the app folder, and then inside that app folder, I have to create a page folder name about us. And inside that about us, then I have to like create a file called page.tsx, or page.tsx is like the actual file. But like if you want to do something additional things, like layout, like if you want to create like a nested layout, okay, then in that scenario you basically create like a layout.tsx file. Okay, so with the help of that layout.tsx file, then that layout.tsx file basically acts like as a parent, like a parent component to the PH.TSX, which then basically becomes like a child component. And layout TSX becomes very useful when you are I mean, personally, I have basically used TSX to basically, like for optimization, for SEO optimization, for meta tags, then in that scenario, it becomes very handy. This layout. I mean, you can do it in page.tsx as well, but then it becomes a little, the code becomes big, like big. I mean, and it's not a good practice. Like from what I have read, as also storing while content loads. You also have files like error or tsx. Okay, it basically handles if there is any sort of error, then the error or tsx file runs. Loads. If and also you might ask like, what if I want to create like some different folders, instead of create, for example, if I want to create a folder for components and I want to basically creating a page for it, then how shall I proceed with that? So in order to solve that issue, you will basically use brackets like you just use bracket. I mean, you just use what's it called, like brackets. Like, you just have basically create brackets, and inside that you basically name the folder. So that way, it doesn't take it as like a page or okay, then it treats it as like a folder. And inside that you can add your whatever things you want. Server components are basically special type of components which are rendered on the server itself. Okay, they are not rendered on client side and then basically JavaScript execute and fill it inside the testing. It doesn't work like that. It basically get rendered and it basically get rendered and basically the entire HTML thing is printed on the server. Okay, they were direct data, and because of that, you get like direct access, right? So then that means you're not exposing your actual path to the customer or user who is using this website. Then they to grant performance there's JavaScript and one big negative of Next.js is that it basically use Next.js. What happens is that one very big negative of using Next.js is that that you cannot use like traditional hooks like use it, use effect. Those kind of hooks are not like accessible. They're not working. They cannot work on server side. Okay, so the reason why it doesn't work on server side is because in browser we have like a lot of we have things like browser.api, right? Okay, like browser.api, like local storage, things like that. Okay, and all these things, like use state, use state, use effect. They basically, I mean, like so they basically, behind the scenes, they kind of use this, like browser APIs, right? And basically, on server side, we don't have, like any sort of like browser. Server side, right? It is not like browser. Okay, so like all the things that are getting rendered there, they don't have access to browser API. So because of that, the use state and the use effect things they won't work there. So because of that, server side, like you cannot actually use that. Use the next image viewer critical fields, optimize CSS. What is dynamic rendering? What is parallel fetching? What is sequential?
No, no, no. Yes, no.
It is possible. Generations. What is partial? It's a partial. It's basically a concept where industrial, like industrial or like they have 100%, it is generated static. But in that static file, in that static page, there are some sections. There are some sections which we can dynamically load. Which we can take in time. Okay. For example, if I have a page which I want to get to we can basically dynamically rotate around that particular section. So the storage incrementing particular section. The entire page stays the same. We can okay. So all the suspense is basically suspense is basically like a component which suspense you can say is basically like a component which basically will help the story this like suspenses. Okay, so they can go that okay, okay, so so okay, so basically things that are basically lazy body okay like basically changes basically lazy body.
basically go out and connect to the world and basically interact and enjoy like suspense.